Invasion, episode 4. This one called The King is Dead. Could be in relation to the teacher dying at the very beginning of the episode. Could be in relation to kind of the change of leadership with Casper kind of overtaking Monty's role with the children. But, let's just dive into it right now. Let's dive into the first storyline of the episode, which I would say is we started with the British school children, so I guess we'll keep going with the British school children. So it starts off, teacher's dead. Everyone's like waking up. Everyone's like, hey, wake up the teacher. And Casper and Jamila are like, we hate to say this, but the teacher's dead. And this one kid was like, call an ambulance. What do you think what do you think they've been trying to do? Like, what do you think that's a new idea? Calling an ambulance? No. And then we kind of get into an altercation between Casper and Monty. Monty's like, hey, this is on you, man. And Casper's like, that's tough to hear. And Monty kind of spills all the beans. He kind of lets all the power that he holds over Casper that made Casper vote for him as leader. He kind of spilled all the beans there and was like, yeah, he just kind of told all the secrets that Casper told him about his dad and his mom and stuff. And Casper was like, okay, well, now you got nothing on me now, so I'm just going to leave. And Monty's like, no, don't leave. And Casper starts climbing. It's a bad move by Monty, right? To just let go of all the power that he had. But Casper starts climbing. And then, for whatever reason, everyone starts climbing after him, which doesn't make a ton of sense. It's like, wow, cool. Everyone wants to follow Casper. Doesn't make any sense because all they need is for one person to go up. Like, why risk death? And no one falls, which is really impressive. These kids are really good at rock climbing. They climbed that whole face. Free solo. Well, there are like 10 of them. None of them died. None of them fell. None of them even got injured. And then they go up and they're walking along and they find this metal, right? The stuff that made the bus crash in the first place. And Casper and Jamila remember, oh, the teacher said something about raining metal. Jamila's like, it's not your fault, Casper. And Casper was like, that's good to hear. And Monty's like, oh, who cares? Now, I don't see what power Monty could have in the rest of the season, but I guess we'll see. Like, it seems like he's already been relegated to a point. Well, we'll get there. Casper looks and sees that there's Russian letters they say it's like a satellite that came down and crashed, which would kind of line up with the whole space conquering thing that happened with the astronaut. And they look at this metal and it has Russian letters. Casper looks in his notebook and there's the same Russian letters. Everyone's like, what? And it seems like Casper's hiding something. Maybe it seems like it's a similar situation with Luke, maybe, that Casper maybe has like this connection to the aliens that we don't really understand. They start walking again. And Monty wants to stay. What I'm getting from this is that Monty, maybe, he's a bully. The classic stereotypical portrayal of bullies is they have a tough home life. Maybe Monty wants to stay in a situation where he has control. And that's kind of slipping away from him. That's just my guess. So that's kind of where we left the kids. With them walking home, and Monty is no longer the leader. They kind of voted Monty out. That's why I'm saying I don't see where Monty can go from here. Because it seems like he's lost all his power. And they're walking, like maybe they'll come on to another situation where he can kind of undermine them, but who knows? I'm excited to see where they go from here on out. Now we have the fam, and they wake up in their hotel room again. Don't know why they're not really. It seems like they're not really taking this seriously. The whole situation that they're in, for whatever reason. It's like, wow, there's an emergency. Okay, time to get a full 8 hours. Okay, back to emergency. It's just kind of strange how there's the moments of real big panic and then there's moments of calm where they're like just kind of like, oh, gotta hit the hay. man, he's laying on the floor, right, texting. We're assuming he's texting his baby mama, which we learned about this episode, but we're assuming he's texting Mandy, and Anisha looks over, sees him, and he tries to hide his phone. Like, what do you have to hide anymore? Like, get over it. You're caught. It's over. But yeah, that was weird. Luke has a little bit of alien metal, which might explain the reasons why he's not nosebleeding and why he's hearing waja. Then probably the first moment in this series that's made me gasp that's actually made me gasp is Manny is having a baby with Mandy. Anisha just like picks up his phone again with the whole he's awful at cheating thing, just goes straight to the hidden photos and it's all in there. Just sees the shirtless selfies in the mirror, tough. And then sees fucking baby ultrasounds. But yeah, that is nutty. And that made me gasp. And that was, I feel like, the first moment in this series that's trying to be an examination of, not just the action of the apocalypse and the alien invasion, but it's trying to be kind of like what's the interpersonal drama that goes on in this situation. But none of it is really caused by the alien thing. It's just the alien thing exacerbates existing issues. If that makes any sense for this family. So I don't know. I feel like that's kind of the issue with the whole thing. Why the family storyline isn't. I mean, it's intriguing to be like this mom found the dad cheating. Now they have to band together to take the kids. It's an intriguing way to deal with it, but I feel like it just hasn't been presented in an effective way. But that was the first moment where she's scrolling through the phone, sees an ultrasound, and Manny's having a baby. That was the first moment that made me go, like I was shocked. Which was good. That was a really good moment for the show. They start fighting, and then Luke runs away. They run after Luke. Their fighting is obviously hurting their family. It seems I'm not very impressed with how good of parents they are at all. Luke runs away. They find him in a house. This family takes them in. Nice family. Am I 100% sold on how safe this house is going to be for them? Not at all. But at the end of the day, they're there. And it's better than walking around. Actually, some good moments in that storyline. For the first time. Probably my least favorite storyline, what's becoming my least favorite storyline, is Trevante in the desert. He is walking with the man who helped him, who only speaks, it was either Dari or Pashto, I don't know which one he was speaking, and I'm probably pronouncing those languages very incorrectly, but we hear Dari and we hear Pashto from the people who live in Afghanistan. And I don't know which one he was speaking. He was speaking one of those languages, and Trevante was yelling at him in English, which doesn't make any sense. Why? You must know at this point that he can't respond to you. He doesn't know what you're saying. You could say what was he trying to say? He was trying to say the name of whatever city they were going to, like Dashi or something like that. And that was a butcher, but the man, that's all he understands is the proper nouns. So he's got to stop. Trevante's got to stop. Trevante is annoying at this point. Trevante is like a guy who points his gun at everyone. He's walking around. He's the American soldier who points his gun at everyone. Oh no, I'm tired of these kinds of. I don't know. Maybe it's accurate, but it's just not fun to watch. He gets trapped in this hospital, and fighters come in from some kind of terrorist group, I would assume. And he's looking for his men. Obviously, he finds Chavez. Chavez is basically dead. The men come. They have stormtrooper aim. Can't shoot him. He escapes with Chavez. We saw an alien. So an alien took out one of the fighters. Don't know why the alien was very picky about who he took out, but who they took out. I don't want to gender the alien, but Trevante gets into a car and somehow has a key and drives away. That storyline is just lame. It's a lame storyline in my opinion. I don't like it at all. And then we get to Yamato and what she's up to. And I enjoyed this part a lot. I think that they haven't handled Yamato's grief very well. I thought this was a good exploration of her grief. It was a cool moment with her and the dad. So she arrives at the dad's house. First she gets fired, basically. Right, she gets fired, and the guy who she was in the control room with is like, it seems like he betrays her, but then he's like, "Hey, you gotta keep a man on the inside, otherwise I would have been fired too, and we can't figure this out." And Yamato's like, "Okay," and she leaves. So we might be seeing some man on the inside situation going on. She arrives at her former bae, her late bae's dad's house. And she's like, she passes it off as like, "I work at JASA. JASA. Japanese Aeronautical Space Administration?" Probably not, right? I mean, is it just NASA but with a J? There's no way that's what they call it. Maybe it is. She gets there and he doesn't even ask her, like, "Why are you here?" He just like starts talking about random stuff. And that's kind of one of the I think this show has very fumbly dialogue and very unrealistic dialogue that just is there to further the plot, and that can be good. That can definitely be good. You know, like some shows or movies you don't want, like they're not made to be, you know, realistic dialogue. Like the dialogue is meant to push the plot forward, not to create a tone or not to explore characters. It's just made to push the plot forward. But this dialogue is so formulaic and so like bah, 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 that it just comes across as really robotic and not very good. When that dialogue is done well, you kind of forget that they're talking at all, and you're just like, this is plot, this is plot, this is plot. I think like good action movie series do that well, but this show does not. And that was kind of shown in that exchange between Yamato and the dad. But then it gets better. Yamato kind of pokes around, goes into her late Bae's room, looks up. It was a little emotional, you know. That was a sad moment where she was seeing her late Bae's room and childhood room, seeing kind of dreams realized. And then the dad comes in and they have this conversation about, I know who you are. He's like, I know who you are. Dad knows. Father knows. And that was cool to see that, you know, this father accepted his daughter, and they stopped talking, not because he was some kind of homophobe or because he was like, you shouldn't be a working woman or something like that, but because he was like, you shouldn't hide who you are. And she was like, I have to. Like, I can't get by if I don't. And he was like, well, I'm not going to accept that, which is a little backwards, I think. A little strange. But it was a cool way to reveal that he's a good guy. I don't think it's like super realistic to have a supportive dad be like, well, you're not going to be who you are, so I'm going to forget about you. And that's strange. At the end of the day, they plug in the recording, the wancho recording, and the sand starts to move. And he's like, the big cliffhanger of the episode is, do they have big sound systems in JASA? So it seems like what they're setting up is for them to give the guy who they have on the inside this audio, and he can play it, and maybe it'll write something in the sand or something like that. Every alien thing just seems like it's trying to be a rival at this point, with like, this is how they communicate in this one. This is how they communicate in this one. Which I'm not saying that Arrival was the first one to deal with alien-human communication, but it did it really well, and it did it in an unorthodox way. And I feel like every alien movie that I've seen since then has been like, this is how these aliens communicate. So do they communicate through sound waves that write themselves into soft surfaces? Maybe. But at the end of the day, this was the best episode of the show so far. I thought there were moments that really surprised me. There were moments that made me a little emotional. There were moments that kept me gripped. And overall, it would lead to what you would expect out of a big streaming TV show, what you would hope to receive. So I would give it a 3 out of 5. It wasn't like an excellent episode. It was just like, okay. So hopefully that's indicative of an upward trend. I'm excited to see where basically every storyline is setting itself up for more reveals and stuff, except for Travante's storyline. Excited to see where all that goes. If we could just cut the Travante storyline off, I'd be super happy. Shorter episodes, like 48-minute episodes, if you cut out all the Travante stuff. That's that for Invasion episode 4. Getting some subscribers. Thanks for subscribing, everyone. Hopefully you're enjoying my reviews or my recaps of Invasion. Succession and Curb Your Enthusiasm recaps coming up soon, if you like those shows too. So bye.